live! My name is Gabe Howard, and I am the host of not only the Psych Central podcast, but also of Not Crazy. And I host Not Crazy with this woman.
Hi.
Are you going to introduce yourself?
I'm Lisa. I'm working on it. The co-host of the Not Crazy podcast. I haven't really gotten this introduction live thing down yet. I need more practice.
I think that it is super awesome that you're here, and we're very excited that all of you are here. And here's what you do. Please, over the next half an hour, we're going to answer as many questions as possible about our lived experience with bipolar disorder. I live with bipolar disorder. About our experience with depression. Obviously, with bipolar, I also have depression. Lisa lives with major depression. We'll answer questions about suicide. There's really nothing off limits. We will try to get to as many as we can. And of course, as a public service provided not only by psychcentral.com, which we love psychcentral.com. You should check it out. They're very, very awesome. But of course, also by the Not Crazy podcast, who is generously agreed to loan us out to be here because, well, Not Crazy is on the psychcentral.com podcast network. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
No. Everyone should go to psychcentral.com/notcrazy right now, immediately. Okay.
Will you tell the folks how it works? What they need to do is put their questions where?
I have no idea. Tell me. Tell me, Gabe. I don't know. And in fact, every time I talk, you disappear from the screen, so I can't see your face. So I don't even know what's going on right now. As long as I talk, I can't see you.
Well, what I can do is I can spotlight people. Like right now, it's only you on the screen.
Okay, but now
right now it is only me on the screen.
Right.
But wait. Right now, it's both of us on the screen. The level of professionalism of our very first attempt at being live on Psych Central.
It's going great so
far. This Emotional Life and all the stuff. I mean, it's just to die for. Please, what we need you to do is put your questions in the comments.
You'd almost think we practiced. Yeah. We actually did practice, but apparently it did not take for me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Can I talk now?
No, okay, but for real, how am I going to be able to see you if I'm talking?
Why do you need to see me?
Because I don't know what you're doing. How do I know what you're doing? You might be gesturing or telling me to stop, or I don't know. I feel like that's important.
It's not.
Is that not important?
Not even remotely.
Oh, I feel like that's important. Maybe we need to do this from the same room. Maybe we should be in the same, I should come over to your place or something.
Oh my God.
What?
I
don't get the joke.
I think you might be incompetent.
You think? I have a little trouble using this tech. Really? You think, Gabe? You think? Wow, you're like some sort of genius.
All right. The questions are starting to pop in. The first question is, are you ready, Lisa?
Yes.
All right.
Sure. Let's do it.
The first question is, how are you managing your days during the quarantine? Lisa, would you like to answer first?
My first thought was to say poorly, but that's a joke and that's not funny. I already worked from home, so that part is already kind of not that big of a deal for me. That's a little bit easier. The big change, of course, is that my husband now works from home as well. And so we've been tripping over each other a bit. And of course, the other change being that you can't leave home. If you want to go out someplace to get a break, you can't do it. The best advice I've gotten through the quarantine, and I think this was actually your advice, Gable, I'm not sure where I got it, which was to not put too much pressure on yourself, because you read all these articles, the quarantine is the perfect time to remodel your bathroom or clean your closets. And at first I thought, oh yes, I have all this time, I'm going to do these things. And that was so much pressure. So now I've decided, no. I'm just going to make it through. We're just going to make it through however many more weeks or months this is going to be. And I'm not going to worry about using my time productively. And if I just want to do my work and then lay on the couch all day in my pajamas, that's what I'm going to do. No pressure. And that seems to be working a lot better because I don't feel like I'm constantly missing something.
Lisa, one of the things that you mentioned at the top of that is that you're used to working from home, much like me. But now your significant other, your husband, is underfoot. Yes. Have you made any rules that have helped this?
Yes, we have rules. Yes.
This?
Yes, he is not. He is not allowed to interrupt. And he keeps doing, I think he actually gets a lot more out of the social interaction of his workday than I do, because every once in a while he just wanders out of his office and wanders into mine and says, "Hey, what are you doing? How you feeling?" Because he just is desperate to talk to someone. And then, of course, he'll start talking about his job, which I don't understand and I cannot contribute to it. Then he'll say things like, "Well, what do you think?" "I don't know. I don't understand any of the words you just said. I can't help you with this." So we have rules. He is now not allowed to come into the room during certain hours. And he says, "What are you doing?" And I say, "I'm working because this is my job. I'm at work. You're at my work now." So he's not allowed to come into the room at certain hours. He's only allowed in here sometimes. The one good thing has been he makes lunch every day. I do like that, because I would usually just microwave something, but he'll actually cook something. So that's nice.
I think that it's sweet that at the very end there, you were like, "Oh, he's not completely worthless. He gives me food."
Well, it's sweet of him to make something for me too, you know.
I'm also amazed that one of the things that you said is that he interrupts you, because you're just the interrupting fool. I mean, you just interrupt me constantly.
Well, maybe if I could see you, I would know if you were getting ready to talk.
It has nothing to do
Maybe
with
I'm being
anything.
stymied by technology. Have we looked into that?
No, we have not. All right, everybody, keep asking your questions in the comment section below, and we will answer as many as we can. All right, Lisa, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, best answer to the last question. No pressure. Just try to make it.
Thank you, Lisa. The next question is, let's try to find a good one. I'm not able to pop them all up on the screen, so if I get to your question and I don't pop it up on the screen, please understand it is just a limitation of the program, but please ask your questions in the comments, and we will answer as many as we can. All right, Lisa, are you ready?
Yeah, aren't we already ready?
I can never tell with you.
Okay. I don't know.
All right. All right. The next question, Lisa, if you are paying attention. The next question, Lisa,
I can't see you. I don't know what you want from me. I can't tell if I'm interrupting you or not.
When I'm talking, you can hear me, right?
I think maybe there's a lag.
All right.
Maybe not. I don't know.
The next question is, during this time, do we need to redefine intimacy?
Gabe?
Well, I think it's an interesting question, because I think that we do. You know, intimacy is one of those words that it can mean so many things, right? You know, intimacy can, mean sexual relations. Intimacy can be date night. Intimacy can be holding hands with people while going for a walk. I mean, we all define intimacy in our way. So take whatever definition you have of intimacy, and if you are not able to apply it right now because of what's going on in the world, then yeah, you absolutely need to redefine it, because your only other choice is to not have intimacy, right? And we don't want to have no intimacy. I think that intimacy is one of these things that is uniquely defined by the couple. My wife and I aren't big hand holders. We're just not. But I got to tell you that is the way that I showed intimacy to my high school girlfriend. We held hands. Going steady was intimacy when we were in school. I think that it changes per couple, where you are in the world, etc. Yes, I think that the easy answer to that question is we absolutely need to redefine intimacy. Otherwise, we have no intimacy. Lisa?
Should I talk now? Okay, it's my turn. I actually don't have a good answer to this question. I guess part of the problem would be, what is the definition of intimacy to start with? So I don't know that we have to redefine it. Maybe we just have to define it in the first place. I guess my first thought was, are you talking about how you can't actually go and see somebody, like some of your friends or the guy you're only casually dating? You can't go and visit? Yeah, the internet's just not the same.
All right. All right, here we go. Jennifer says, I think she can hear you fine, and she is doing great with the patient attitude.
Thank you. I think Jennifer is our best listener.
Yes, and of course, can you focus on the fact that others are waiting for you to say something informative so that we can squabble later? Absolutely, it is a weakness of ours. All right. Harper Grant says, how do you hold it together when you're holding it together for so many others? Lisa, you were my caregiver for a long time. And I mean, I know that that's kind of a loaded word, a caregiver, but during those times that I was really, 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 really sick,
Mm-hmm.
how did you hold it together? Because I was not providing you with support. You were providing me with support. I wasn't providing you with support. And to be fair, because of the stigma of mental illness, a lot of people were not supporting you. They thought that you should just leave.
Yeah. That was the
Yeah. How'd you hold it together?
Well, of course, the obvious answer is sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I didn't handle it well. Sometimes it was very difficult. When you were your sickest, the thing that actually helped the most was a support group that I started attending for family members of those with mental illness. And I'm not really a very big support group person. I'm not a very touchy-feely person. You feel like, I'm going to sit around in a room and talk to a bunch of people. But when you had people who understood what you were going through, it just made it so much better. It wasn't the same as talking to my friends or talking to my family. When I could talk to people who had similar situations. And sometimes they would give you advice or whatever, and that was helpful. But more than that, it was just being able to vent in a situation where people understood. It wasn't even so much about getting advice as it was just having someone to talk to. That was by far the most helpful thing when you were super sick.
I have so many questions about that period because obviously I don't remember
a lot of it.
Much of it at all. But I think that a lot of it relates to where we are with the pandemic, because obviously there was no pandemic going on when you were trying to hold it together for me. And I know that's not so many others, so it's even worse right now. But I can only imagine. I can just only imagine. Let's pretend for a moment that I was sick right now during the pandemic. Where would you reach out for help? Because I know one of the big things that you told me after the fact was that you had time that was your own. You went out. You went out with friends. You went out to the movies. You went out to dinner. You just went out. And right now, because of the quarantine, a lot of us are unable to go out. What would you recommend for folks that need to get away but are and
can't get away?
I don't want to say trapped in our own house because that kind of negative language really we're all in our house to keep ourselves safe and so we can all get through this and be alive. So I want to be cognizant of that language. But how do you hold it together when you have Harper popped up? How do you hold it together when you have no one to vent to? Because people don't want to hear it. And I know that was your situation.
People do not want to hear it because your family and friends are either A, sick of hearing it, or the only advice they give you is, well, just leave him. Well, just do, they have some real simplistic thing and they'll say like, well, if you don't do that, you're not interested in it. I don't want to talk to you about this anymore until you take this advice that I've given you. So, and again, they're tired of it. They're tired of hearing you. This problem has been going on for weeks or months, maybe years, and they're tired of listening to you complain. So I guess what I would say is right now, the internet is never tired of listening to you. There will always be some place that you can talk or type or a message board, if those still exist. There is someone online who wants desperately to hear you vent or complain. And then the other thing I would say is, if possible, try to again, you're carving out time for yourself. If you can convince your loved one, and I'm assuming this is a situation where you have a loved one with mental illness that you're caring for. If you can just leave you alone, in your own space for X amount of time, I'm going to sit in this room, take a bath, watch TV, a nap, whatever. And you are not allowed to come near me or speak to me for this amount of time. That was very helpful.
Do you think that folks would be receptive to that? Now, Lisa and I,
they're going to have to be.
I do not have children. Lisa does not have children. I know that my sister, for example, has children, and she tried to institute this policy with her 5-year-old.
It didn't work?
No, it didn't work at all. But my sister does live with her husband, so they had daddy-daughter dates that were in completely opposite rooms of the house that they convinced my niece that the reason that mommy wasn't there is because it was special between daddy-daughter. So I think that we need to be a little creative. I think there's a sort of creativity right now that we need to have the mindset about. Harper, I certainly hope that you get the support that you need. I echo Lisa's sentiments. PsychCentral.com has tons of online resources. And whether you call it venting, complaining, whatever words you want to use, I do think that talking about it really, really helps. And we tend to put a negative on that. Oh, you're just complaining. Yeah. I think that just complaining is the first step toward getting help, right? Like that's step one. And I think that's very powerful. And I think that you should absolutely look into that. Just venting online. I would put a little asterisk that says, try to be productive, but, don't beat yourself up if you're not. Harper,
productivity is overrated.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
The next question is from Caroline M. Neal. Being bipolar, how do I cope with the bombardment of thoughts? Oh man, that's
that's a $1 million question.
It really is. I feel like I'm saying this a lot lately. Sincerely, I feel like I'm saying a lot lately that all of my coping skills are illegal. Because the way that I coped with the bombardment of thoughts before was to focus on other things. Like I really enjoyed going out in public and people watching. I really, really, really loved sitting in a coffee shop or a restaurant and just watching people, focusing on their daily minutia. What kind of coffee do they order? Do they come in with their family? How many people wear open-toed shoes? I know it seems funny, but it's allowing me to focus on something that really just has zero consequences. And I don't know, it just gave me something to do. That is something that I still think that we can do. We just have to be creative about it. I've been going for walks. Now, I'm not a big walker, but in my neighborhood, we're allowed to park on the streets. So I go for a walk, and as I pass each car, I look to see how many people have expired tags. I got to tell you, that number is a lot higher than you think. The next thing I do is
DMV right now.
Well, but whatever the reason is, focus on how many people have expired tags. The next thing that I do is I look around my neighborhood and I try to see how many people's tags expire in November. See, my birth month is November. So now I'm kind of running a tally to see how many of my neighbors also were born in November. Because, November is awesome, right, Lisa?
If you look really, at least here in Ohio, if you look really close on the registration tag, it actually doesn't just say November, it says November and then the date. So yours actually says November. I know, I never noticed that either. And then I was kind of freaked out because I was like, I don't know what I want everyone. I don't so much mind people knowing my birthday is in November but I don't know that I want them to know the exact date. But anyway, so that's an extra fun game you could play, Gabe. You could go and see if you can find anyone with your exact same birthday.
And yes, and I think that all of these things are just something to take your mind off of it. Exercise has been proven to help with anxiety, racing thoughts, and things like that. So there's that added benefit. John Flanagan from the comments section said bombardment of thought, try meditation. Meditation, mindfulness, yoga, sitting quietly and focusing on stuff. I think these are all very, very good ideas. And your mileage may vary. It may work for you and it may not. I think the final thing that I want to say on this, and Lisa, please correct me if you disagree with me, but
okay.
I think trying something is powerful. Not giving into the idea that you can't do anything just because maybe the first several things failed. I think keep trying.
There's always more. There's always other things you can add to the list to try.
Lisa, you do in my opinion, some very clever things that Lisa does not have bipolar disorder.
He doesn't usually say that.
Lisa, I know.
This is great.
This is what happens when you do a show with your ex-wife. I think that you do a lot of, I don't know if clever is the right word, but you do a lot of things.
Clever is definitely the right word.
All right. You do not have bipolar disorder. You do not have racing thoughts. You don't have an anxiety disorder.
In general, I do not feel like I'm troubled by racing thoughts.
But you do a lot of things at home to pass the time and to keep your mind off of things. And you did this before the pandemic. Can you share some of those things. I'm thinking along the lines of like adult coloring. I mean, who does that?
I've always been more of an introvert, more of a homebody. So on the one hand, people have actually said to me, "Hey, you really don't ever go out anyway. This isn't so bad for you." But but no, it doesn't work that way. It's the equivalent of there's a difference between I can't go out and I don't want to go out. So as soon as someone tells you you can't, you immediately desperately want it so much. But no, I think mindless activities are always good. I personally really enjoy reading because I feel that really, you can really immerse yourself in reading, for me at least, much more than you can in TV or a screen. So I do a lot of reading. That is very helpful. And those mindless games on your phone, I find very relaxing. There's dumb. I have played probably 1 million hands of Spider Solitaire by this point, but it's very relaxing. And my husband does think it's a waste of time, but it's so soothing. Cleaning can be kind of soothing too sometimes, not always.
Let's talk about that waste of time thing right now in the pandemic. As you said at the top of the show, we judge ourselves by our intentions, mm-hmm. and we judge other people by their actions. I think mm-hmm. during this pandemic, we're judging others by their intentions and us by our actions. And I say that because all over Facebook, we see, I'm learning a second language. I'm taking online classes. I've signed up for the following things. For many people, I believe that's their intention. Their intention is maybe to learn those things, but saying I signed up for a class is not the same as taking a class. So because they've intended to do so, social media is not real life. Do you think that it's reasonable right now to cut ourselves a break and just say, hey, if the only thing that you do for the next 8 weeks is survive the next 8 weeks, you are successful?
Yes. And as soon as I decided that, I felt much better, because that whole wasting time thing is a big thing for me, because it's the only resource you can't get back. And that's the number one thing I feel sad about for all those years that I struggled. Well, I still do, but for all those years I really struggled with mental illness, is it was just such a waste of time, and you can't get that time back. So that's a big deal for me. Never want to waste time. Always want to be doing something productive. So yeah, that was the best advice by far I got, that just try to just relax. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. I wasn't going to clean the linen cupboard before this happened. Why am I going to do it suddenly?
John Flanagan, I unfortunately can't put the whole thing up, so I will read it. I've created a toolkit that, John Flanagan, thank you so much. He says, I've created a toolkit that lists 5 activities or behaviors to help me when I'm being bombarded. Meditation, nice. Walking, petting my cat, or light chores around the house. I think that's fantastic. Just out of curiosity,
a good one.
Lisa, you mentioned cleaning earlier, and I despise cleaning. I just despise cleaning. So I'm surprised to see it on a list. But you mentioned it too, Lisa. What is it about light cleaning or cleaning that's therapeutic for you? Because it's an interesting concept for me, because I just see it as a horrible chore. It's
the immediate gratification. Because you have something that's messy or disorganized or just in some way that you don't want it to be, in some way negative. And you can, again, light cleaning, you can immediately make a difference, and you can see an immediate effect. And then, of course, it feels like something productive, right? Even though, sometimes I feel like laundry, right? I wash the laundry. There's just going to be more tomorrow. Right? So cleaning can feel as if you're doing it over and over. It never ends. But for some reason, cleaning isn't the same as other activities. You're just like, okay, this is what we do. So it feels like you're doing something productive. You're not wasting time, which everyone knows is very important and not a problem. And the immediate gratification of seeing the result. And then, of course, you get to live with the result. So that's nice too.
I think that is very, very cool. And we're getting some great feedback. Control over the dust and grime is good. It's funny.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. You're right. It's a control over your surroundings. Because if you feel like you're out of control, or even like your thoughts or your life is out of control, but you have this little square parcel of land that you can control. Yeah, good. That's a good way to phrase that. I didn't think of it that way.
And David Sandum, who I own a piece of his art. It is incredible. I really, really like it. He says, good job, guys.
Which one is it?
It's the New York City that's hanging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the blue one.
The one that's across the door from the basement.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
it's
now everybody,
the door to the basement. Yeah.
Everybody knows where to go into my house to snab it.
I picked the frame.
That is true. You really,
Yeah.
really helped.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We are nearing the end of our time. If there are any questions, we have about 4 minutes to grab them. We want to get to as many as we can. We are trying. Sheila popped up here. I'm having a really hard time being alone. My state is extended. It's stay at home, and sometimes I think, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Sheila,
Hard trouble.
It is a hard trouble, but I want to tell you that of course it's worth it. Sincerely and honestly, I understand why we're thinking this way because we're in the midst of it, and it's really hard. I remember when I had surgery, and I know that this is not the same as having surgery, but I remember when I woke up from the surgery and I was in such pain and it hurt. And the first thing that I thought to myself is, oh my God, did I make the right decision? Mm-hmm. Should I have had surgery? Should I don't like it. This was a bad idea. This is awful. And I remember Lisa said,
yeah.
Gabe,
I can remember that.
This is the worst it will be. It will get better from here. And I know that doesn't apply exactly to the situation that we're in, but I do think that we've been through the worst of it. And I think that it's hard to have a setback. I think that it is hard having a setback. This pandemic has been like being trapped at the airport.
Yes, that is a perfect analogy, because the problem is if someone were to say to you, all right, this will be over on this day, on September 1, it'll be done. You'd be like, oh, okay, I can do this. I'll just hunker down and make this happen. But it's the open-endedness of it where you don't know when it's going to end that makes it so frustrating.
Yes, but just like being stranded at the airport, no matter how many times they delay the flight, no matter how many times they cancel the flight, no matter how many times they have to de-ice the runway, no matter how many times you board and then have to unboard, the outcome is always the same. You make it home. You get to your destination, and the majority of us, the majority of us get there safely. It's a setback. It's hard. It's difficult. And it's rough to go through, but we really have to focus on the goal. And the goal is for all of us to be standing when this is over. All of that said, I know we are very low key here at Psych Central, but it's very important that I remind everybody of the National Suicide Prevention
Hold
Lifeline.
it up a little higher. There you go.
Is it all in? Which is 1-800-273-8255. Please text HOME to 741-741 to reach a crisis counselor. It's extraordinarily important that we not only look out for others, but we look out for ourselves, because we want to be here when this is over. I want you here. We all want you here. And that's the most that I can say about that. I'm being very, very sincere in my words. Lisa and I want to make sure that everybody can see us squabble on the internet when this is all over. Lisa, did you have a good time?
Maybe. I don't know. I think I need better technology and more practice. I'm definitely going to get some of those really cool headphones that like you have.
Oh, that's awesome. Lisa, as always, thank you. Lisa and I are the hosts of the Not Crazy podcast. She is my ex-wife, which makes me her
ex-husband.
And we decided to launch a podcast together to talk about all the things that people aren't talking about, because we figure, hey, what's better than an ex-husband and an ex-wife bickering about mental health advocacy to keep people engaged and interesting? You can check that out at psychcentral.com/notcrazy. New episodes release every Tuesday. And listen, we're going to end with use your time creatively, try to learn something new. But remember, the new thing
but don't stress about it. You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. But listen, the new thing that you learn doesn't have to be a new language. What if you learn one new thing about your best friend? And that's it. Lisa, tell me something that I don't know about you.
Why don't we start the other way? Why don't you tell me something you don't know about? No, you tell me. Why don't we do it the other way? You tell me something I don't know about you.
You don't know that I am difficult to live with.
Oh, that's not true. You're nothing but sunshine. And again, the greatest thing is we used to just bicker like this for free or only to our friends and family. And now you too can share the joy.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate you. Please check out psychcentral.com. Check out the Not Crazy podcast on your favorite podcast player. Stephanie, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's the first time that we have ever done this. So, hey, we will work out the kinks as we go. We appreciate everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Bye!